All right, we're gonna do a quick video on how to pull the axles for a 2014 Fusion. We're gonna take the wheel off. I'm draining the transmission for starters so that when I pull the axle out, it's not gonna be all nasty. And that's this drain plug right here. It's an 11 millimeter. Oh, there we go. So that's the trans fluid. It's pretty dark, but it's been a while. All right, so next step, I got a bit of workout. These lug nuts are terrible on these cars, so mine were all mashed up from 98,000 miles of dealerships, just destroying them. So I had to hammer a 19 millimeter socket onto it, break them all loose, and then hammer the sockets back, or the lug nuts out of the sockets. Kind of a pain. So I had my wife hold the brakes the whole time, and then I broke loose the axle nut. You're gonna wanna do that while someone holds the brakes. If the car's up off the ground, if it's on the ground, you're fine. It's a 32 millimeter, so I used a breaker bar to break it loose. So just, regular breaker bar down there. If you're strong enough, you can break it. And then with my wife holding the brakes really tight, she had to pump them up once because they weren't holding, it kept slipping. So once we pumped up the brakes in the car a little, it held. And then I broke it loose and then put on some hearing protection. And once I broke it loose, it came right off with my little DeWalt Impact. Just a little 32 mil. These are technically throwaways. I've reused them many times, but they do expand a little bit. So it's kind of odd because when you start with the socket on it, it'll feel kind of loose, but that's because it's so tight that it's actually flaring out the end of it. But a 32 mil will fit just fine. Just to give me more room, I'm going to take this caliper off. There's just two bolts on the back. Right here is one of them, and then the same one below it. You can actually see the bolt right here. So I'll pop these off real quick, take that off, and then I'll gently tap the end of this to push it in. And if it's really rusty, you might need a tool to actually push that in that mounts to these. But I've never had a problem just taking a rubber mallet or a rubber mallet and a regular hammer and just tapping that out. So, and then once this gets moving freely, then we know we're loose on this side with the axle, and we'll continue on. So you can see I've got a little bit of movement on it. So as long as you've got movement there, you should be okay. Okay, so you probably didn't even need to take the rotor off, but not a bad idea while we're here. So instead of taking the ball joint out, which is kind of a pain, I saw a couple videos where they took the top two of these out. So that means this whole knuckle is gonna fall forward. So you gotta be really careful that it doesn't just flop on the ground. So we're gonna kind of support it while we take these bolts out. These are huge bolts right here. You gotta take these two out. 21 on the left, 24 on the right. So I had to go buy some sockets because I actually didn't have a 21 and a 24. You're gonna need a breaker bar. So what I'm doing is I'm just holding this side steady and then slowly coming down with the breaker bar. So let's see if I can get that on camera. Okay, so I haven't broken the bottom one loose yet. So I'm just holding the left side and I'm pushing down with the right side, 24. Oh, there it goes. Once it breaks loose, it should be able to get with a regular. Well, I've said that a million times with these things before, haven't I? Oh, yeah, it's loose. All right, so before I pop these two bolts, I got the nuts off the back here, but before I hammer these out and this thing falls forward, I don't want to rip this wheel speed sensor out, so a little 8 mil screw comes out. This should just wiggle right out. Yep, there it is. And then little pop tool right here, dig that out, pop that out of there. And then we're just gonna kind of tuck that out of the way. And then, cause this is gonna come forward here, so I just don't want it to bring anything with that's gonna tear it. Okay, so that actually worked out really good. It didn't come flying out on me. It was super easy to move around. It's all pretty loose right here. And it's not flying forward and ripping up the ball joint down here, which is what we don't wanna do, is rip that to pieces. So we're actually in a good spot. It looks like this, yeah, I already kind of got the axle out right here. All right. So hard to do with one hand here. But you can see the axle's out this side, so we're just gonna pull it all the way out and move it around the side here. And I'm gonna get to work kind of popping the other. Okay, so on this side, to take these bolts out, I actually can get it out with just a 24 inch or a 24 metric socket. I don't actually have to hold the back side. I figured you might, but if you're just taking the nut off the back of these bolts and then hammering them out like I did, that's all you need is a 24. You got it seated nice, and I'm gonna kind of hold it with my knee. They are tight, but there it goes. Super easy. Okay, sorry about the shiny camera work there. Okay, we're just gonna tap it out. I can't do that left hand. Let's pull it most of the way out. Don't pinch your finger. Okay, like I that it's not going to come flopping out too hard. So we're just going to wiggle it. And that's basically out. And then we should be able to pull that axle right out. And I'll get underneath and show you how to pull them all the way. And don't forget, just throw the bolts back in where they belong. So I've got them facing the way they came out. Okay, so now you can see I've got the axle all the way out on this side. So there's this little spacer thing here. I'm going to reuse it probably. I might see if they're throwaways. So I'm on my creeper, but this is facing the front of the car. So we're going to go to the passenger side axle. But I'm laying on my back, sliding straight under it. So I don't want to get too lost here. Here's the transmission. This is the one I was just showing you. And then if we scoot over to this side, there's the other one we're going to try to pop out right here. I know it's not the greatest camera work, but that's the one that we got out on that side. So we're going to focus right here. So this one's a lot easier. You have an axle strap right here, so you're going to have to take this off. I think they're, 12 or 13 mil. I can't remember. I'm sorry, but there's a strap over the top of this. I took it off last night. Sorry, I can't show you. But that'll come off. And then, again, I just threaded the nuts on here so I don't lose it. The strap's up in my little pan where I keep everything safe. So this one's really easy because you've got this axle strap. And before you go crazy taking it off, take a look at where it's at, right? It's not actually flush with the left side here. It's close, but not quite all the way. It's pretty much centered right in the middle of this thing right here. See that? It's almost flush, but not quite, and it's a little offset on the right. So the reason I'm saying that is so you don't get nervous when you're putting it back together. To take it out is going to be really easy. I'm just going to take a hammer and tap that until it comes popping out of the trans here. Oh, yeah. It's going right out.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Oh, my watch got crazy. See that? Just coming right on out. And if you look up here, out it comes. So just going to keep gently tapping. Remember, I don't got to He-Man this. Just little taps. This is the easy side. The other thing is, oh, okay. What am I getting stuck over here? No, I'm not. Okay, I'm gonna keep tapping. Okay, we're out. Yep, there it is. So here's where having a buddy isn't the worst thing in the world. Okay, so all we're doing on this side, so I'm laying directly underneath it again, is I'm just turning. You can see there's a thin side and a fat side on the cup here. I'm just getting leverage wherever I can to try to pull this out. I don't have like a fancy Ford puller, and I don't want to damage this axle because I am reusing it, but I'm just going to get under there and wiggle, 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 and I'm just going to kind of use it. Ooh, actually, that's pretty nice, and I'm just giving it a bump, and by taking the other side out, we'll have a little less pressure holding this one in. Ooh, I thought you had her there. Sure. Oh, there it goes.
There you got it.
Nice. All right, if you don't mind grabbing that other end.
Actually, you drop the spacer there.
Yeah. There it comes. So just patience and wiggling. All right, got it. Sweet.